Okay, so Mishlei 24, 19 through 20. Al tischar b'mareim al tikane b'rashaim kilo tihye achris lara nir rashaim yidach. And I mentioned in the chat that we did this in December 2020. So I don't remember it, but there is a shiur on it, and apparently I was not satisfied with what we got. So it's good that we're doing it again.
Okay. How do you know that you were not satisfied?
Because I wrote in the thing, not satisfied. But yeah.
We'll come back to it in 2023.
Okay. All right. So translation.
Don't get mixed up with evildoers.
Okay, don't get mixed up. Do you get that from the Metustion?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, don't get mixed up. So he says, Tiskar is inyan his arvus lihidamos. I think assimilate would be a good, like a literal good translation, right? Don't assimilate, right? Because that means to mix up and become similar too, right? Don't assimilate. Oh, sorry, not assimilate. Assimilate. Yeah, with evildoers. Al takane barashaim.
Don't be jealous of Rashaim.
Don't be jealous of Rashaim. I feel like this is the second time we've been told this in recent years, or recent months, weeks. Yeah, Rashaim.
Something around.
Yeah. Kilo tihi achris lara.
There won't be an end for battle.
Yeah. So I think we had this one by the honey pasuk, right? For Imish achris v'tikvaska lo tikares. Right. So achris there we say is like a lasting end, right? So I'm gonna put that in brackets in case it's true. Lasting end for evil.
It could be evil or the evil person.
Right. Lara, right. Or the evil person. Ner Rashaim Yidach. Yeah. So that's the thing. I always translate ner as candle, but I feel like the actual translation is lamp, right? But we'll say candle and lamp. Okay, lamp. And then Yidach. That's one I think that might be subject to like
be crushed.
That would be with well, without the ayin, it definitely means crushed. Maybe there's another one like that. Metustion says inyan niter ukfitza kamo doachu keish kotzim. Okay, so like we get that from Hallel. Tehavi kibui haner shekopetz hashalhevet shalhevet mina psila. So yeah, so I think the way he's translating it is the candle or lamp of the wicked will flicker out. I think flicker out means it's like or sputter out maybe, right? Flicker or sputter out, right? Because he's saying the flame leaps and then it extinguishes, you know? So that in English, I think it means flicker. Okay, I'm just gonna say Rishaim. Yeah, just noting that there are different words.
It sounds kind of violent though. It's not like it just like it slowly ebbs away. It's not like
right. That's why sputter I think is a good thing. And then this is we'll say wicked for this just to have different English terms. Okay. Sadigon just says al tiskar is whatever that Arabic word is hacheshik ulihitus achar davar mitoch chibolo. So that one is so assimilate with. Or so Sadigon says it's to have a longing or desire for. Okay, so like don't desire. Let's just say desire. Okay, for I don't know what the specific word is. Targum lo sischasam bibishaya velo sitan b'rachiaya mitul de lo havia achrisa tava lebisha. Ushar Gohon Darashi and Nidach. So the only thing he really adds is Achrisa Tava. So he says it won't have a lasting or a good outcome. Okay, for evil. Okay, yeah, that takes care of those guys. I'm assuming that is actually I shouldn't assume that. Yeah, should we look at it? No, let's skip it because we already have enough to work with here. Okay. Article, do not assimilate with evildoers, among evildoers. Do not envy the wicked, for there will be no lasting outcome to evil, but the lamp of the wicked shall die out. Living Knox says, do not fraternize with evildoers. I like that one. Yeah, don't envy the wicked, for evil has no future. The lamp of the wicked will flicker. I think it doesn't say flicker out, right? You think it says flicker out. Alter, do not be provoked. Oh, see, that actually, provoked is actually another translation. Where do we see that? Tacharus is like competition. Like to strive with, but in not a like working with, but like a I don't know what is I actually want to look at the BDB and see what it says. Should have looked at that in the beginning. Okay, 24. Oh, I don't care about this English, but let's see what the English says while we're here. Don't fret yourself. I hear that in the voice of a Southern woman. Because of evildoers, and don't be envious of the wicked, for there will be no reward for the evil man, and the lamp of the wicked shall be snuffed out. All right, that's sniff. That's okay. Tiskar is burn, be kindled, or anger. Right, that's what I would think. But then I think there is another meaning that's
That was under
what was that?
that was I wouldn't have.
Oh yeah.
That was
Contention, contend with. Right, that's what I got the competition with. How canst thou hotly contend with the horses? Yeah, I knew there was something with the horses there. Eighth to Sachare es Susim. Why do I know that pasuk? I don't know. You're me out 12. Okay, yeah. What do you say?
What was that script?
The script. You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's Arabic. Yeah, or okay. How do you say this? Syriac. Syriac. Is that how you say it?
It's Arabic script.
I think so.
Yeah,
it does look like it. And what else was I going to look up? Yidach. To go out, be extinguished, made extinct, extinguished, quenched. Okay, yeah. Did you find something?
Oh yeah, I was just looked up where the other pasuk was.
Yeah, it was at the beginning of the sun things.
So yes, there was a pasuk in the beginning of the sun, which was all you kind of leave.
Which pasuk?
23:17.
23:17. All you kind of leave with time in right. And then the honey one also did have that phrase. Okay, yeah, okay,
There's
right.
also another one that was all honey. This is the beginning of 24. 24:1.
24:1. Yeah, that's it. Al Takana Ba'anshe Rav, Al Tisav Lihios Itam. Kisho Yege Libam. Yeah, right. So this is a bit repetitive.
Yeah, well, I think it's just giving different reasons.
Right.
There's multiple reasons.
Well, also it's different people, right? That we haven't yet talked about Rishaim, and lately we've been talking about Rishaim, right? We've said just to rev up into this pasuk here, Al terov Rasha linevei tzadik, Al teshadid rivtzo, Kisheva yipol tzadik v'kam Rishaim yikashul bara, binful oyivcha Al tismach v'kashul libecha, pen yireh Hashem v'ra beinav v'heshiv me'alav apo, which we said last week that Rabbeinu Yonah learns that is still talking about Rishaim, and then here. Al tiskar b'mrim al tchana b'rushaim kiloti akris lara ner rushaim yidach. Yeah. Okay. So yes.
Yeah. So Shlomo Melech's audience for this pasuk must be really, really dumb because this is really pshat.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I thought you were going to just say the normal Ariel question, which is this is obvious.
Yeah.
But saying that we're dumb.
No, for this pasuk, the audience.
Really?
Pasuk, yeah. I mean, come on.
Let me just quote something here.
All right.
Okay, it's not an exact quote, but just something I remember hearing last week. When I'm with my coworkers and I see all this non-kosher food and all these women, it's hard to not. I mean, someone must be really dumb to be jealous of Rishaim and.
No, it's not. Pretty
Okay, so let's just ask it.
It's so passionate. It's like, why even say it? What's the message?
Okay, so let's say here. Okay, so what is the chiddush? Okay, so what is the chiddush? Okay, both in general and in light of the recent pesukim with similar themes. And that was 23:17 and 24:1. And then according to Ariel,
it's extremely awesome.
You must be really dumb.
Or maybe really early on in a year, so you don't know what that's going on.
Okay. Yeah.
Who were those pesukim talking to?
Those pesukim were talking to the sun, I think, because that was.
I'm saying which evil people.
Oh, so 17.
And then Anshe Ra.
Yeah, Chataim, and contrasting that with Yiras Hashem, and then 24:1 is Anshe Ra'ah, and contrasting that with nobody.
Their
Unless it was at the end of this one. That was in the drunkenness pesukim. Yeah. Right. The don't look at wine when it's becoming red and all that other stuff. Yeah, David.
Lack of my own knowledge. Miraim, is that any relation to Mary, or it's completely not related?
Completely not related. It's from Ra.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, people. Ra is to cause evil. Yeah.
Can we ask what's the difference between Rishon, Rain,
Yeah.
Ra, and Katzah?
Okay. What are the definitions and differences between let's do this proper. What are definitions of and differences between Meraim and Rishaim and Anshe and Chataim and Anshe Ra. These guys in our pasuk sound worse, right? Yeah, definitely worse than and I would venture to guess that Rishaim are worse than Meraim. Meraim is you do evil. Rishaim are definitely doing evil, but they have like they're being called Rishaim. They have a Resha. Yeah. Yeah. Yaakov.
What is Tiskar mean? Where's the lesson?
Yeah. What does Tischar mean according to each translation? Yeah, Ariel.
Yeah, I guess just to add on to the first question, like who really is the audience? Because like if you just tell like us, like don't assimilate or don't be jealous, like how do you control that? And also we know that we shouldn't assimilate and we shouldn't be jealous, and we know that you
let's do practically speaking, what advice is this giving us? How do we implement al tischar?
Yeah, like who's the audience really?
Yeah, I put that onto the first one. We'll just go clockwise, guys.
Yeah. What are you jealous of?
Okay. If it's jealousy, that's its own thing, right? Yeah. Okay. So, what is the nature of this kina? Okay.
To understand tischar as being some sort of desiring or gain control. What are you desiring or gain control by? Right. And if tischar and same for tischar. Yeah. David. Okay, so the second pasuk has the first part is a response to the Ran, and the second part is a response to the Rishaim. I don't know what you call this when the C can apply to A and B and B can apply to
I asked this.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Yeah. So wait, sorry, just spell it out in particular again. I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
The first half of
it's
about the Ran, the second half is about the Rishaim. Right. And can you prop them over to also have C apply to B and
okay, right. Yeah. All right. So let's just say
A, B, C, D, possibly?
Yeah. A, B, C, D. Question mark. Okay. Gotta be concise. Yeah, Ezra.
What is the offerist that doesn't exist for Ra?
Yeah. All right. What is where are we here? This is going to be here. What is the offerist that doesn't exist for Ra? Yeah, you want to add to that?
Later another question of that same pasuk, the second pasuk of what is this
the mushal of the candle? Yeah. What is the mushal of the ner? Okay. Yeah. By the way, the reason why we did this in 2020, we did this during Chanukah. We were just trying to find random near pesukim. Yeah. Yeah. Yaakov?
No.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Not a question.
Yeah. Oh, not a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have all the questions? What's the
opposite of this?
Yeah, that is interesting because in 23:17 it did give the opposite, right? It told us what to do with our jealousy. So let's say here, what is the opposite? Like, in other words, is the opposite to just not be jealous or to befriend other people or to assimilate to other people, or is it like to redirect this somehow? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Kind of reach. Is Tikia you will not?
Yeah. Oh, that is interesting. No. I think because Achris is feminine, right? let me just make sure. Where are we here? 1920. Yeah.
Do we ask what is an achris?
Achris? Yes, we did. Oh wait, I'm clicking on the wrong word. Achris. Yeah, feminine. Yeah.
Okay.
So it will not be.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you have another question? Yeah.
Okay. So far as the reason that's getting at the end, may I also know of other reasons we've talked about of why not to get yourself involved with these people?
Yeah.
So is there anything particular that is talking about the ultimate end? Is there a particular point that Shlomo was trying to bring out, particularly about looking at the end, and there's not going to be an end for you here?
Yeah. So let's say what this kind of is included in the other two questions, but what exactly is Shlomo's argument or arguments here? Right, like that's basically asking what the practical. I mean, it's kind of a combination of 5, 6, and 10. Yeah. You have a question or you have an idea?
I have a just come back to me for another.
Okay. All right, Isaac, you have an idea?
Yeah, it's more of an association.
Okay.
I think it's like I think maybe the muscles getting at the same.
Alti Tikva? Is that where you're going in the sitter? No. Okay.
No, it's Begrowth which I'm calling Esav. Then when the wicked bloom like grass, which was
right.
I remember from Tehillim share that what we said was that it's that they they like grow and like they're like vibrant for a short period of time, but then they like just die out.
Right.
I think with the lamp, it burns very bright. And it's like and it's very like noticeable, but then it just dies out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So that is partially addressing lots of questions, which is what I mean, we didn't ask this also. This is kind of part of question 1. What is the havamina, right? So the havamina is you see them enjoying success and it's good, and so but the havamina is that you think that that's going to last forever, and really it's short-lived. That's what you're saying with the grass. Yeah.
It's like if you were to like light a fire with like lighter fluid, it'd be a huge fire,
right,
for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, right.
But it's not going to be like but then it's just going to
I think that there is actually someone in Tehillim who says who quote Mitzus Tzion said doachu keish kotzim, that they burn like a fire of thorns, which I think we did that in that paragraph also, that if you thorns, it's like very huge bright fire, but then there's not much substance, and so it like flickers out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like slightly difference also.
Sure.
By the Nair. Like comparing this to like the Nair of a tzaddik.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Which is like it would be like a steady fire, and then so like finally like it'll like you'll know when you'll see it like die down, and then it'll be gone.
Oh, interesting.
With like a Russia, you have no idea. It'll just like at some point be gone.
So that's interesting, because I was thinking similarly but differently. So one thing is to say that all candles flicker out, right? Or sorry, all candles go out. But with the Russia, it's emphasized. The mushal is specifically in the way that it goes out. Whereas in a that's what you're saying, right? That in a tzaddik, it's not going to.
It's more unpredictable when it'll go out as well.
For the Russia, it's more unpredictable. Yeah. Okay. Right. So that's one way to take it. The other way to take it is, I think there's a pasuk in Mishlei, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. 20:27, which apparently we've done. Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam Chofes Kol Chadrei Vatan. Lamp of Hashem is the soul of a person is the lamp of Hashem. It searches all of the chambers of the belly, right? So that's another possibility that this is recalling that according to this, not all Neros would go out, right? Then the Ner of the Tzaddik would continue to last after death, and the Russia though is gonna die with his physical death or whatever. Yeah, but
that works even better.
Yeah, but I think we should keep it open for what you're saying as well, because to me the chiddush, or not the chiddush, the most attention grabbing part of the mushal is the yidach, and so that might be the what it hinges on. Yeah,
I have two different starting points.
Yeah.
So it might
Okay.
result in two different approaches. But one approach, I think that I think you kind of answered it with your reactions, your knee-jerk reaction to my question.
Yeah.
Is this pasuk can be speaking to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it could even, I would say even a tzaddik.
Oh, even a tzaddik. Wow.
Yeah,
I have a knee-jerk reaction to that too. No, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Because I think that everyone at a certain point of their life, and you see it even with Akra, you know, like all these, you know, tzaddikim who veered up the dara.
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe like you know, there are times where we are in the working environment with food and women and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like if we are confronted with these situations firsthand,
yeah,
like when we see it, we're exposed to them experiencing it.
Yeah.
Like we could start rationalizing in our own mind. Maybe we should do this ourselves. You know,
right?
Try to bring logic into.
I mean, that emotion. Just to give an example of that with the before you say your second thing, it was with the tzaddik. I mean, you know, I you know, it's like Gandalf says, right? Like if he got the ring, he would you know attempt to use it for good or whatever. You know, like tzaddikim could be envious of Rishaim and their wealth and their power, not for even bad reasons and fantasy reasons, but just saying like if I wish I had that amount of influence so that I can do good for the community. But there is something. So that would be interesting then, right? Because if it's talking about that,
so then the question,
then the argument
bad about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the interesting thing is this is not saying it's bad; it's saying it doesn't last. And then the question is, how would this address that reasoning? That's a very fruitful approach, I think.
So the other way to learn is, I mean, this is like within this approach, there's two paths that I see. One path is like, let's see, so they can use that to for their own benefit, be jealous of that. But then the question is, it doesn't seem to provide success. Yeah. Right. So now, or you say the other approach is that the city can even then may be corrupted through it like fully. Right. So like two different.
Okay. Right. I also want to point out, just in light of both approaches. So we have three translations for tischar. We have desire, which is the one that you started off talking about, right? You know what? Hold on just a second. So compete with, like the thing with the horses, that's an interesting one because tzaddikim, you could see them getting into a situation where they're competing with Rishaim, but competition by its very nature involves a certain comparison with them. And there might be a trap that you could fall into from making that comparison, you know? And it could also, again, it's not so different from the assimilate with or be provoked by, because in both cases, you're reacting to them. And there's always a pitfall of like making yourself more like them in order to have greater odds, you know? So I did react at first when you say this, even for tzaddikim, but I'm much more open to the idea now.
So do you have something on this approach?
Yeah, but you can.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So now the first starting point is that, look, it's just simply speaking to someone who is not fully aware of, who a Russia is and how it could influence you.
So this is a different approach.
This is a completely different approach.
Okay, yeah, right.
Because it could be just speaking to the sun still.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's just do our check, which is to see if the sun pesukim continue after this. Yes, the next one is about the sun also. So yes. We have reason to assume that this is still within talking about the sun. Doesn't rule out your first approach.
Yeah. So if you say this, so then the father's responsibility is to educate the son about the world, and he's preparing him for when he does get into these situations.
Right.
Just different approaches.
Okay, good. I like both approaches. What do you say?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to take the approach of it's don't compete with them. And I'm going to go back to what we were talking about the candle. Like a tzaddik snare is like a very consistent light, whereas the Rishaim flickers and burns brightly. Yeah. And I think it's a lamp that's like flickering like that draws the attention, and so then you're very aware of that. But then what happens is then it sputters out, right? And then the only lamp you have left is just the one that's consistent, and it's saying don't be trying to be don't be trying to compete with Rishaim who like like instead of being like the like steady lamp, like trying to be like an attention grabbing one. Because that's what like that ends up sputtering out where really consistent lamp.
I hear what you're saying. It kind of reminds me of the the squeaky wheel gets the grease, the flickering lamp gets the snuffed. Sure.
Okay.
And then let's look at Mrs. David.
This goes back to also, I know we have different intuitions in this, and I wish I were here because he shared this with me. But talking about the enjoyment or the pleasure of doing bad things for their bad sake. So I think there is what to be jealous or even provoked by because you're not getting to do this. People who are doing evil and you're going to be jealous of them. And then this is saying, don't do that. Well, it's talking to someone who has that within them that they want to do that, and saying, don't do that because it won't, that you're never going to, that thing will never, whatever that enjoyment is, that pleasure, is not going to actually be a lasting ultimate good. It's going to always be some sort of frustration. And then with that, it'll flicker or sputter out. But it's going to be there. It's going to be like a nice little bright, some little bit of pleasure, and then it's going to cease.
Right. Yeah. See, my intuition keeps coming back to that point and the point about the Tehillim, that like, I think the Havamina, regardless, I don't know who the audience is yet, but the Havamina clearly is that this thing will last or will have a good outcome. So I think we need to really like lean into that, no matter which approach we take. Let's just think about it a little bit more. And this does hinge on who the audience is.
Who are Marim?
Right now, I'm just looking at Marim as people who do the actions of Rishayim, but it hasn't yet become second nature. Like let's say like you are in, like Rishayim would be, let's say in, I was thinking about with the, I'll put that on pause for a second. An example for what you were saying is I was thinking about during the housing or the period leading up to the housing crisis, you had tons of people on Wall Street getting very, very rich, overtly like doing rishus, and then everything collapses, so the Rishayim are the people who this is their modus operandi, like this is how they operate, and they are like trying to impose a system of self-glorification onto the resources that are available and like not caring about what happens to them. Meraim are people who might do actions like Rishayim, like they might cheat here, steal here, whatever, but that's not the way that they relate to the world. So there is a qualitative difference in terms of the fact that this is how they make decisions, but there's also a quantitative difference in terms of like probably how much they're going to be able to like succeed. In fact, I will place bets right now that the Malbim says yesh hevdel ben tischar and tekaneh, and that probably kina is like a stronger amount, and Russia is a greater, that kind of thing. Okay, let's go.
I have a question.
Question.
I don't know if we pointed this out. The first one talks about Meraim and Rishayim. The second one only talks about the consequences for Rishayim.
Right, unless you take Yaakov's reading of Lara is like a bad person, and then you could say it's like a synonym there.
Just a thought, your question of why one think this could be lasting. So evil itself never ends. I think, as we talk about it, evil people, each individual is not going to last for very long. But if you don't separate between the evil person and just like that there is evil out there, then evil is constantly going. So maybe evil actually doesn't, or all these like being crime or whatever, all these things that seem fun. I would posit that, but at the very least, evil itself never ends. So you kind of have this feeling, okay, well, evil's never going to end. So if I were to involve myself in that, it's never going to end for me. Without looking at each individual, that doesn't actually.
That's interesting. So you're saying that the fact that evil doesn't end allows you to like make the mistake of transposing that quality onto the evil that you would be involved in or the evil that this guy's being involved in. I have to think about whether that actually happens.
At the very least, just if you don't separate between evil individuals and evil as an entity, then you can have that.
Right.
I definitely see that as a possible phenomenon.
All right. It's interesting because it's funny, like if you do zero in on a tzaddik, maybe like what you were hinting at before, like don't compete with. Now the question is like why would a tzaddik compete with the Russia, right? I wonder, and I don't know if this is gonna redefine what a tzaddik is or what their what their objective is. I wonder if there's a possibility that because the tzaddik is so involved with like providing the good of the system. I wonder if there's a small part of him that thinks that, that a Russia, Russia's out there and they may interfere with that, which is true. But now I'm wondering if there's a difference in just the tzaddik naturally, providing good for the system without even needing to compete with the Russia, because the system itself will take care of it, versus actively himself competing with the Russia by directly opposing him.
I don't think I entirely followed that. Can you say again?
All right, I have to get it clear, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
remember, I think the pasuk isn't specifically addressing the tzaddik.
Right, he's going with his theory that it is though, and just as well, right.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I just thought about Yerushalayim.
Sure.
It could be talking to someone who thinks that they can join or act like Yerushalayim and kind of just ride the gravy train as long as it lasts for, and then get off before.
Ah, that's good. Right, and that fits in with the unpredictable flickering out. Right.
You're not gonna know what it's thinking.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I also want to just open up a new avenue of thought. Is that I think we've been talking about the effect of the candle flickering out, but I think there's also something to think about with the cause. That a ner has a limited amount of fuel, and I think that the part of the mistake with the Russia is thinking that whatever's fueling his success is a real, lasting, like infinite source of stuff. Whereas with the tzaddik, then that's true. Chachma and tzedek are like part of reality, and that's But the Russia's success all comes from him trying to assert himself and impose his own will on the system around him, which is not really like native to, natural to the system. Yeah.
All right. Emotional competition versus altruistic competition.
Okay.
All right. Emotional competition, you can be overly competitive with someone, but when the tzaddik has that emotional competition, it's still stemming from the altruistic competition because that's a part of who he is. But you could get consumed with the emotional competition of wanting to fight the Russia. But the positive side, that's not necessary because the system itself,
okay, I see.
Nature will do that. So now the question, why would he be concerned with that? Why would he?
Right.
It's almost like adding fuel to what the system's already, because there is a fear of the Russia coming to take over the world.
Right. I mean, in reality, they are competing in the same arena. There is the system. The tzaddik wants to provide good for the system and to have it achieve its maximum success, and the Russia wants to use those resources for his own glorification.
Yeah. Now I just have to figure out that.
Okay, no, this is I like this direction. Yeah.
So I just haven't thought about the I think the Russia or even the Maria.
Yeah.
It's not just that the person might feel like tempted to compete because their own things. I think the way that they operate is in a way that like pulls a person in to their value system.
Right.
So like you're gonna feel like, oh, I need to do this in order to be successful. I need they're gonna frame things in a way that makes you feel like
that's interesting.
Like you need to be competing.
Yeah, Russia is a center of gravity in a way that a tzaddik is not, unfortunately. That I pays to think about how that works, what the dynamics are. Yeah. Okay, let's look at them to this David just so we can have one of the meforshim in our minds for percolating for tomorrow. Okay, so Metzudas David says on this page came out really dark for some reason. Okay.
You selected it.
Oh, did I? No, I think it's dark on the paper also. Al tis'arev im hamareim. Don't mingle with the mareim. La'asos kamasem, to act like them. Okay, so that's defining what it would mean practically to what he's telling you not to do, right? Don't do the actions of the mareim. And don't be jealous of the success of the Rishaim. So I think that could be an ABBB thing. That it's obviously saying don't emulate the actions of the Rishaim also, and I think it's reasonable to say that it's saying don't be jealous of the success of the Mareim, right? I don't think that's a far stretch. Okay, so that's good. Okay, then Loti achris, rotalamar loti achris kumo reshis. That's interesting. The end will not be like the beginning. Ki sofam la'avadon v'yichabed ner nishmasam. so he does say the neshama, that their end will be for destruction, and their narrow will be extinguished. So it's interesting because we were, or at least I was saying the Havmina is it will last forever. He's saying the Havmina is that the end will be like the beginning. I'm not sure if that's different, but the fact that he says it seems different.
The fact that it won't be like grand.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So what do we get from that? Yeah.
It fits with the muscle candle.
Yeah.
Because it's burning really bright, but then it goes out.
Right.
Whereas the nair of nair of the tzaddik is consistent.
Right. It's funny because he doesn't bring in his specific definition of yidach, of the kfitza, the leaping up and then sputtering out. I think the idea that my intuition is going off of right now is the one about you don't know when it's coming, and so let's just think about that and see if we work on an idea there. I mean, I'm struggling whether those are two related. Like that, there's part of you that thinks that this is going to go on forever, and then even if you don't think it's going to go on forever, you practically treat it as though it's going to go on forever in the sense that as long as I'm partaking of this, then I can get out, before it goes bad. What is it that makes I mean, I know this is obvious to all smart people, but I'm going to ask a dumb question. What is it about the Nerushalayim that makes it go out? See, this is my intuition keeps coming back to the fuel source. Like there are a lot of pesukim in Mishlei about how the Russia will suffer destruction. This is not destruction. This is a natural using up of its resources and flickering out.
I have an example of the type of thing that's like this. It's like if you're constantly imposing on someone else, let's say you in a way where they, let's say where they feel like they can't say no or something like that, and you're taking them for granted, you're gonna be like wearing out your relationship until when it's gonna snap, and where you are depending on them for something, or you're asking them for something, and then they're just going to refuse because you've been, like wearing away.
Okay, so I'm gonna broaden that, and I think I've said this a lot on Monday nights, which is that, and I don't know why this word has never occurred to me before until this year about the Russia. The Russia's nature is parasitic. Okay, which means he just takes from the resources around him without any regard for the stability of the entire system. So the nature of a parasitic relationship is that the parasite is going to keep on sucking blood or whatever without any awareness of the quantity or the effects on anything else. And then there's going to be an abrupt point where you reach the end of the supply and then the whole thing falls apart. So if it's talking about relying on a person, then it could be in the emotional resources. If you're talking about I think the example I gave on Monday nights is Scar in The Lion King, basically unbalanced the ecosystem by just over hunting the Pride Lands, and then it caused the destruction of the entire thing. The Russia is just totally focused on, or you could look at what China has done in many cases, that what's going to do is because they are consuming resources and they're consuming them without restraint, there will be a greater success that they have, but it's going to be an abrupt end that you can't recover from. I think that's the idea of not being an achris and it's sputtering out. I think,
That's also why you suggested not to compete with them if you go according to that translation.
Right.
Then you try, you're going to also
exactly. So exactly. In other words, if you try to compete with them, either you're going to engage in those same behaviors and then you're going to meet the same end, or you're going to be engaging in a legitimate means of trying to preserve the resources, and you can't win. They're gonna get more success in the short run than you are. So just don't be competing with them at all.
I was thinking of it as don't be jealous of their success in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because and you shouldn't assimilate because or you shouldn't compete because you're going to end up.
Yeah, I mean to use just a very blunt example. Let's say you're trying to keep up with the Joneses or whatever the saying is, you have a neighbor and let's say you're a materialistic person and let's say they just max out all their credit cards and buy a fancy car and fancy house and stuff. You get jealous. Well, you should realize that's not going to last. And if you try to compete without going into debt, then you're not going to get that success precisely because they're sapping up all their resources, Okay, I think this is, I like this approach. I mean, I think we had a lot of other good approaches also. Last thing, and then we'll
I just want to extend up the much a little bit.
Sure.
The wick is the
Yeah.
Russia, like the wax or the oil is the resource.
Yeah, that's yeah. Okay, that's the success. Okay, that's good. All right, I like that. All right.
Yeah.
Looking promising. Okay, all right. Have a good day.
I think this does